All right, so we're here for our briefing, our trip briefing for our Egypt 2022 trip. And the trip this year consists of three phases: the Liveaboard week, the shore diving week, and the pyramids and museums phase. So we're actually leaving a couple of days early on the 27th of July to set things up. And the actual Liveaboard week starts on the 30th, and then we'll go to the 6th of August. The shore diving week in Dahab, Dahab's up here, Sharm el Sheikh's down here, is going to be from the 6th to the 13th of August. And then on the 13th, we're going back to Sharm el Sheikh, and we're going to take a plane to Cairo, which is over here somewhere. So that's basically how the trip is going to work this year. Here's the outline for the briefing, and it's going to include these different subjects. Here's the boat we're going to be on. Here's one of the shore diving sites, and of course, these are the pyramids. So we have some pre-trip preparations that we need to make sure that everybody takes care of. And first one is your passport. And I think I've mentioned this in a couple of the updates. Your passport needs to have at least 6 months remaining on it. Otherwise, they will get upset. And hopefully everybody has obtained their e-visa. You have up to at least 7 days before arrival. And if you haven't done that yet, please take a look at the video on that, because it is not a straightforward process. So we also need to talk about cash. In Egypt, they will only accept new bills. So any cash that you take with you, you need to make sure that that cash is new bills from the bank. I suggest taking a lot of $1 bills for tips and things like that. And you also need cash for tipping the boat crew, any gear rental that you're going to need to have, and also the park fee. The ATM, there's no ATM near the boat, so for at least the boat phase, you're going to need to have cash with you. There are some ATMs near the hotel before we go to the boat, but there are no ATMs near the boat. There's an ATM that I have used many times right outside the hotel in Dahab. And so what I typically do is I unlock have my start with my account locked, and then I unlock it, take my money out and relock the account. So make sure when you do that, you get your money in Egyptian pounds, not US dollars. You will save, like many other places, you will save money if you pay in the local currency. For coronavirus testing, there's still coronavirus testing in Egypt. It is not required if you are vaccinated and you have the European EU QR code, but that thing does not exist in the United States. So pretty much everybody else is going to have to take a PCR test or an ID Now test 96 hours before the flight into Egypt. So last year in 2021, we took a PCR test at Walgreens, and then we took an ID Now test at CVS just to double enhance our chances of having something to take with us. But this is still, as of the date of me recording this, the 29th of June, this was still in effect. All right, so you also need to make sure your equipment is all set up. Your BCD and your regular set are functional. Feel free to bring that in, and we can check that out to make sure that everything is working well. I would encourage everybody to bring a wetsuit, either a 3mm or a 5mm wetsuit. The water is about 80 degrees. I prefer a 5mm wetsuit in that temperature. We will be going inside some wrecks like the Thistlegorm, so it's better to have a full-length wetsuit if you have one, rather than just a shorty, because that way you're better protected from abrasion. Of course, your mask, snorkel, and fins. Snorkel is very important because they may be taking us to a site where what they do sometimes is they bring you back in the water, tow you back behind the dinghy, and you need your snorkel to be able to do that. So I would strongly suggest that you bring a snorkel. Boots, if you don't have a set of hard sole boots, you need to get a pair. They have round rungs on board the boat, and so they can be very uncomfortable if you're climbing out with your gear with a soft sole shoe. Socks, you might want to bring socks for diving, and also socks for inside with non-slip nubs. As I'm going to talk about later on, they don't allow you to wear like dive boots, wet dive boots, or shoes for that matter, inside the boat. So if you don't want to go barefoot, you can get a pair of socks with some non-slip nubs on it. Computer, bring spare batteries. DSMB, you must have a DSMB with a finger spool, and you need to know how to use it. They'll make you prove that you know how to deploy that. Lights, 2 per person. We're going to be doing some night diving and either have spare batteries or rechargeable batteries. I actually even carry some spare rechargeable batteries. And don't forget to bring your cards, your certification cards, and your Dan card. So I didn't think Dan was printing out cards and sending them, and then I received one in the mail the other day. So I guess it just takes them months to do that. One other thing I didn't mention here is swimsuits. I actually carry 3 sets of swimsuits with me because I don't like putting wetsuits on or wet swimsuits on. But that's up to you because you will be going in and out of your wetsuit all day during at least the liveaboard phase. All right, so let's talk about outgoing flights. There are a number of different flights people are taking. We are leaving on Turkish Air 34, departing IAH on the 27th of July at 8 o'clock, at 8:50 at night. And it's going to arrive in Istanbul on the 28th of July at 4:45. We're then going to take TK 700, again, Turkish Air, and it's going to depart on the 28th. Now, I made a typo here. The flight actually leaves at 10 o'clock at night, not 10 o'clock in the morning. So this should say 2200, and it's going to arrive in Sharm on the 28th of July at 11:45 at night. If you're taking a different flight, don't leave the airport unless you want. If you want to take our shuttle. So if you want to go to the airport earlier, you don't want to wait an hour or so, feel free to take your own shuttle cab. The hotel is relatively close, but the boat company is paying for the shuttle. So if you want to take the shuttle over, you could just wait. You could just wait for us. All right. So when we get to Sharm el Sheikh, it's very important that you don't let anybody take your luggage. The workers, like the baggage handlers, the valet people, they have all kinds of tricks to try to get more money out of you. And one trick that they tried to pull us on last year was they had one guy take the bag, and then I tipped him. And then his buddy came up, and the two of them said I should tip his buddy too, even though his buddy didn't do anything, it had nothing to do with my luggage. So my suggestion is don't let anybody take your luggage if you don't want to get ripped off. We're going to take the shuttle to the hotel, and then we're going to be going to a place called the Dominion Coral Resort. Hopefully everybody has their reservations. Breakfast is included in the basic booking. And there is optional diving. There is a dive shop called the Sheikh Coast Dive Center, which we're going to be doing some diving on right there on the hotel grounds. And we actually have up to 2 days of shore diving. We are going to be picked up in the late afternoon to go to the Liveaboard. So we'll be picked up on Saturday the 30th of July that afternoon and go to the Liveaboard. So the Liveaboard is going to be from Saturday the 30th of July to Saturday the 6th of August. And the boat is in a place called El Watanaya Marina. And this is also known as New Marina. I'll be talking about the vessel, the rules on board, diving, the route, and all that, the typical daily schedule. So our hotel is up here somewhere. And here's like the downtown areas around here, and where the marina is down here. So if you lose, if you miss the shuttle for some reason, and you need to get there, this is where you need to go to, the El Watanaya New Marina. So here's our liveaboard vessel, the Target, the motor vessel Target. We used the motor vessel Love last year, and it was very spacious, very nice. It is 120 feet long, last retrofit in 2020, has 2 compressors and 2 dinghies, and so it consists of 4 different levels. Most of the cabins are down here, so these are down here, and so they're very cool, protected from the sun. This main deck here includes the dive deck here. It includes the salon here, and it includes the restaurant here. And this is like the little buffet thing here. The next highest level here, okay, is where the captain is, with the bridge is, and we don't book these cabins because they are, in the summer, they are impossible to use. So if anybody does end up on the boat besides us, they're going to be in these cabins here, and you're going to hear them complaining about how hot it is in their cabin. But that's not our problem. Back here is kind of a lounge area where they serve the snacks. And then there is an upper sun deck here, which is good for nothing except frying yourself and possibly drying your clothes in between dives. So if you go up to the top deck here, then you can lay your stuff out with a couple of weights and it will dry very quickly. If you go up here, be very careful, because last year I saw an old naked guy up here changing his clothes because he didn't want to change his clothes in either this bathroom or one of the bathrooms here. So if you go up here, be careful. There could be some naked guy dressing himself up on the top deck. All right, so here's some more detail about the boat. There are most people are going to be staying in a twin cabin. So there's a bunk on either side. There's a walkway here. This is a dresser, and then on the other side is the head, the bathroom. And there's a thing where you're not supposed to flush toilet paper down the thing. And in fact, their toilet paper is kind of hard to flush down. So one thing you can do is you could stick your toilet paper in this little tin, this little trash can next to it. Any Westerner probably thinks that's gross. What I usually do is I do stick it in the toilet, but you got to make sure it goes down. So what I do is I take the shower and I hose the toilet paper and break it up before it goes in the toilet, so it doesn't cause any things. But you have to be careful with any marine head that you don't do something that's going to end up clogging the toilet. So you're free to do whatever you want, but please don't clog the toilets. The salon is over this area here, so very spacious area around here. There's also some regular seats. This is like one side of it. The galley is here. This is the galley where you have tables on both sides here and here. And this is the lounge again, the galley, or the salon over here. So this is so spacious that you can actually sit on one side or the other side. So if you don't like somebody sitting on that side, you can sit on this side. They're so far away, you're not even going to hear them talking. There's the lower sun deck, which is this area here where they serve the snacks after lunch, and they have some seating out here. Some of it is covered, some of it's not covered. You can sit anywhere you want there. There are some rules on board. First thing, once we get on board, they're going to want to do some paperwork. They're also going to want you to pay for the park fee. So the park fee has gone up, and it's approximately $90 for going through the park. And then also rental for any equipment. If you're using a second tank, those are 30 euros for the week. And also a larger tank, I think, is 30 euros. Okay, so we have people doing this, and I arranged for one person to have this so they can stay down longer. So we're going to do that's the first thing we're going to do when we get on the boat, when we get settled. Some rules: no outside shoes on the inside of the cabin. You can take your spare shoes and put them in the cabin, or take your shoes and put them in the cabin. You just can't walk on there in the cabin on their rugs and on their floor. The other one is no wet clothes inside, so you can change the dry clothes in the head. But again, watch out for old naked guys up here changing their clothes. Alcohol is not included, so there's a logbook for alcohol, wine, beer, I think, and you keep a logbook and you pay for that in cash. If there are any problems, particularly if your AC is having a problem, please let us know. Please let the dive guide know, and they'll do their best to straighten it out. One of the problems we did encounter was that people's air conditioners were set initially before they got on board the boat, and they froze the evaporators. So if that happens, your AC is not going to have to work. And so in our case, what we had to do was we had to not run the AC for a few hours, and that thawed it down enough to be able to get it to run at a lower setting without freezing up again, which is perfectly fine. But if you have any problems like this or anything else, immediately let us know, let the guide know, so we can address it. We don't want anybody to have a problem that's existing the entire week. Yeah, so let's talk about tipping. So, of course, tipping is not included in the price of the trip, and it is a surprisingly big production these days, at least on the last trip we went on. And I think something happened where there was somebody who probably didn't think they were getting the amount they were supposed to. So what happens is at the end of the trip, the last evening, I have to go with the dive guide with all the envelopes, and we have to open them in front of the captain and count all the money. And so I guess something happened that required that to be happen now. So what's going to happen is each guest gets an envelope the last evening, and the suggested tipping is around $95, $90, and a more hefty tip would be $150. And again, better to have crisp cash per guest, but I think they will take anything because it's a take it or leave it thing. But to be nice, give them crisp cash. And so where you do in this range, okay, is up to you. I think one year we gave them too much money. Everybody gave them too much money, and I think they were shocked by that. I have a feeling that there are some nationalities that don't tip at all, but they really appreciate the tipping, and they do everything they can possibly to make your trip enjoyable. They'll even come out when you're getting in the water. They'll even come out to help dress you, so it's easier to get dressed. What they do with this is they take the total amount. And they split it evenly among the crew. So I think that this is definitely a way that the operation supplements their salary, and I think it's very very important for the crew. So they're very very happy to help you do anything that you want them to do. So the diving on the Target, this is the dive deck, and what's going to happen is you're going to be assigned a particular area here. Not really assigned, you get to claim an area here somewhere, and your tank, you set your gear up on a tank, and you have an area underneath you where you have like a milk crate where you can keep some of your stuff down there. Some people take their fins and put them in the box, and there's also like a bar on the transom back here where you can also store your fins if you don't want to carry them up and down the steps. So pick a spot, make sure you're happy with the spot, and there's plenty of space on the boat, particularly since a large percentage of the people in our party have single rooms. The boat is actually designed to have up to 20 people. So the way this works is you get a dive briefing, you gear up, you walk down to the diving platform, there's a set of stairs about 4 steps here and 4 steps here. And then you either dive directly off the back of the boat or you get into the dinghy. And if you get into the dinghy, generally you'll just pass your gear down. You do your dive, you return to the boat, then you come back up the steps and you put your gear back in the rack, and you remove your regulator or regulators. And what they do is they take these whips and they bring them and they fill your tank up while you're eating. And so when you're ready to get back, all you got to do is put your regulator back on, and then you're ready to go. So they do all that kind of stuff for you. And again, they will help you get in and out. The platform, the steps on the sister ship, the Love that we were on, was such that I could get all the way out, okay, carrying 2 tanks up to the last step. But the way the last step was, there was nowhere to hold my hand, so I generally had to have 2 guys come over and lift me up by the armpits over the last step, and they're happy to do that. All right, so that's the diving there. Okay, the diving route, we're going to be doing a thing called Reefs and Wrecks. We depart Sharm early the next morning, which is Sunday morning, and we do a checkout dive. You want to make sure that you have some idea what you're doing. And so we'll go to Temple, which is further north than Sharm, than the marina, or we'll go south. Since we're going to be diving mostly in this area here, I'm going to encourage them to go to Ross Cady, which we did a cleanup last year. So I'm going to encourage them to go south so we don't waste time going up there. One of the things that I mentioned earlier they're going to have you do is your DSMB deployment. You're going to need to do that to prove that you can do it. Then we're going to go to a bunch of different places here. This is Shark and Yolanda Reef, which is a great dive. We're going to go to the world famous Thistlegorm Wreck. We're going to tie off there probably for like a day and a half, so you can do 3, 4, 5 dives there. There is an anchorage called Shabali, which is around here somewhere, and there's a pot of dolphins that lives in the vicinity, so you may see them. And there's also a giant moray eel that has a body the thickness of a telephone pole that lives down there too. And then we'll do some wrecks, the Kingston, Giannis, the Kimon, a couple of others, and then also some reefs, Shah Mahmood and the Ras Muhammad reefs, which are all through here. So we're going to be doing a lot of reefs and wrecks. I do not believe that any of the dives require us to go below 100 feet. All right, so here's a typical diving day, and I want to emphasize here that you should only do as much diving as you want to. In the last 2 times we've done this, I have not made the full 22 dives. I think on one trip I didn't do 3 dives, and I think last year I didn't do 2 dives. So don't feel bad if you don't want to do a dive. If you feel tired or you're just really relaxed and you don't want to dive, only dive when you want to. Because there are a lot of dives. Okay, so typically how it works is you get a dive briefing and then you do a dive, then you have breakfast, then you do a dive briefing and a dive, then you have lunch, a dive briefing and a dive, then you come back and you have a snack. Okay, so this is one of the main times that they do the repositioning is in the afternoon. And then you do another dive briefing and a dive. Sometimes this turns out to be, if you don't reposition, sometimes this turns out to be a night dive. And that would be like, we'll probably do a night dive in the Thistlegorm, and we'll probably do a night dive at Shabali. And then you come back for dinner, and then you sleep, and then you come back and do the same thing the next day. So very important again, only dive as much as you want to. This is, by the way, is the this is the dive deck here. So it looks like their little things here are a little higher than the other ones, so maybe I won't need anybody to help me get out. And here are the steps that you go down to the side. Here's the bar where you can put your fins. You can put your fins against the side of the boat there. All right. So we're going to depart from Sharm el-Sheikh to Dahab in our shuttle. And we're going to do that on the 6th of August around 12 o'clock. And up, that's, Sharm el-Sheikh to Dahab. We're going to depart on the 6th of August. Arriving members, okay, if you're not going in the liveaboard and you're arriving, you need to be at the marina prior to that time and wait around a little bit maybe, because we're all going to get on the shuttle bus to Dahab. So if you're not there by like 12 o'clock, okay, the shuttle is going to leave and you're going to have to make your way to Dahab on your own. Arrival is approximately 1400. We're going to go from here to here, and we're going to go through this like mountainous area. I think the route is more like that. It's very, very scenic. So I encourage you to have your camera with you handy as we go through the area here. Once we arrive, we're going to register at the hotel and the dive shop. So we're going to use the Planet Divers Hotel, and here's the inside of the hotel. It's kind of a U-shaped type thing, and there's a nice, very nice pool here. So we're going to be staying, I think some people are staying right here, and then some people are staying right here on this side. The Planet Divers has most of this. There's a couple of rooms over here, a place called Red Sea Relax has, And we actually stayed there in 2019 because Planet Divers didn't have any rooms available when we were there. So we stayed with Red Sea Relax. But we are again going to Planet Divers here. So Planet Divers is very centrally located in the nice area of Dahab, next to the promenade. You'll see there are hotels all over the area, Dahab there, but this is like a really nice centrally located area. Here's the room. It doesn't have carpet because they know you're going to be diving. You may have 2 or 3 beds in your room. There's a little refrigerator down here. I suggest propping this open to help it transfer heat better. Otherwise, it doesn't work as well. And then there's a bathroom with a shower over here. Breakfast is included. There's a 3rd floor open air restaurant above the water. It's above the water, and it would be like over here on this side. I thought the breakfasts were quite fine. You can order eggs, and you can have all kinds of other stuff. Some people didn't like it, and they went to a place called Ralph's German Bakery. So if you want pastries for breakfast, you can go to Ralph's German Bakery around the corner, which is, they also have more exotic things like, they have like smoked salmon and stuff like that. So you have your choice, but if you go to Ralph's German Bakery, obviously it's not included. Ralph's German Bakery is not included in the hotel. Lunch and dinner, you're on your own. There's literally hundreds of restaurants along the promenade within 30 seconds of walking distance. And my favorite is Fish and Friends, where I would go a lot to get shrimp and rice. I'd eat there at least once a day for lunch or dinner. And I would get shrimp and rice for like $7. Some days, depending upon the diving that you do in Dahab, lunch may be remote. Okay, so I encourage you to bring some money with you, some cash with you, in case you eat lunch at one of the remote sites. So it all depends upon what you're going to be doing, that day. So here's the Planet Divers dive shop. It's a PADI facility, and we're going to have a locker bay attached or assigned to us, so you can keep stuff in here. I wouldn't keep my computers or regulators in here, but your BCDs and your fins and stuff like that, it's fine for that. And what they do is they always have somebody here, and they lock these things here in the afternoons, so you don't have to worry about any random person coming in here. And this is kind of secluded. This is kind of secluded anyway. So you guys have already paid for a 10-tank package with free nitrox, and so you have that. If you do additional diving, what they'll do is they'll charge us, and then we'll charge you. Feel free to do additional diving if you want to. You're going all the way to Egypt, so dive as much as you want to. The diving is relatively inexpensive. In Egypt, unless you're an instructor teaching a class, or unless you're an instructor and you've actually dove there before, all diving is guided. So you actually have a dive guide, and if you're going on a remote trip, you also have a diver. So they may split us up into 2 or more groups. So some of the people may want to do, more relaxed dives, easier dives, and they might put you in that group. And then other people might want to do more advanced dives. And then I know that there's a group of us that are going to be doing some technical dives or technical dive training. And very important, please tip your guide. We generally use like the $5 a tank dive type thing. You generally do like 2 dives on the trip. So again, these guys work for tips. And one of the things one of the guys was telling me he was doing was, if the dive guy didn't want him to do something that he wanted to do within reason, the key phrase is, "It would make me very happy if." Okay, and then the guy looks at you and he goes, "Okay, I'll do it." There's things like that. Another thing that was kind of interesting, there's one of the dive sites called the Bells, which I'm sure everybody will go to. And to get to the Bells, you have to walk a pretty good distance, I'd say like 200 yards with the tank. And so if you don't want to walk 200 yards with your tank, what you do is you pay some guy at the restaurant about $3, and they will take your tank up there for you. So there's a lot of people that would be more than happy to assist you in anything that you want to do. All right, so I'm going to talk about the typical recreational dives. You have two different categories. You have on-site dives, which are right across from the hotel, and then you have remote type dives. Okay, so generally at the if you're going to do a dive off the hotel, which is the ones you're going to do initially, again, they want to check you out to make sure you know what you're doing. You gear up at the dive shop at this area in here. You gear up here, and then you can walk down through the resort, across the promenade, and then through the restaurant, and then you go dive. You may also, if you don't want to carry your tank, your dive guide should have a cart, and you can load your gear on a cart, and he'll roll it down the hill through the resort, and then it's not really a hill, and across the promenade, and then he'll park it outside the restaurant on the other side of the tables here. And then you get into your gear, walk through the restaurant, and get in the water. When you return to the dive shop, you can walk to the dive shop, or you can just put your stuff on the cart, and he'll roll the cart back. The other type of diving is a remote dive, where you actually get into a truck, okay, with the driver and your guide, and you drive a few miles away. I think the most remote site is maybe 6 miles, maybe 10 miles away. And so what you do is you load your gear in a crate like this, and they load the tanks and stuff like that. And then you ride to the dive site in the truck. You unload and set up at the dive site. So there's more restaurants at the places that you typically dive. There are Bedouins that like own that part of Egypt, and so the Bedouins have like overhead cover, and they can serve you soft drinks and tea and stuff like that, and even food in some cases. And so what you do is you generally stake out an area near one of these Bedouin facilities, and then you go on your dive, and you can order water from them or whatever. And then when you're done, you load and return to the dive shop. So some of these you'll do 2 dives at the same site, and then sometimes you'll do a dive at one site and then get back in the truck and then drive out. Some of the drivers are really picky about you being dry, so bring a towel with you. I guess they don't like you sitting in their truck wet, so just to remember, bring a towel with you so you don't get the back of their truck inside of their truck all wet. All right, so we're going to be departing from Dahab to Sharm, going this way, and that's going to be sometime on Saturday, the 13th of August, around 10. And then we're going to arrive at the airport around 12, the Sharm airport. Again, don't let anybody take your luggage. Okay, you'll probably hear me screaming and yelling at one of these guys who's trying to take my luggage. And then our flight leaves, I think everybody's on the same flight that's going this way, leaves Cairo at 3:25. So we go from Sharm up to Cairo, up there. All right, so in Cairo, we arrive on Saturday at 4:45, and we're going to take the hotel shuttle to the Giza area. Hope everybody made the reservations for the Great Pyramid Inn. And we can do some things. You could do as much or a little as this as you want. We did this in 2019. This was great. The Nile River Cruise, where they actually had like a dancing show and also had dinner. And then also the pyramids and the museums. We will probably arrange with Viator to do the pyramids and the museums, and possibly the Nile River Cruise. And this is all very inexpensive. So the Nile River Cruise may be like $20-$30, and this is like $20-$30 to do to have the guide to do it. And they do come in a shuttle, an air-conditioned shuttle, to come pick you up, because the last thing you want to do is drive around anywhere in Cairo. I also sent out the thing. I think I sent out a video link from the guy who makes things called Egypt Made Easy. You also need to be very careful if you go in a cab. You only want to go in a cab that actually has a meter running. We had a guy try to rip us off last year. We said, how much is it for everybody to go? And he said $5. And then when we got out of it, he wanted $5 from each of us. So we told him, go call the cops. And we just walked away. So be careful if you're going to be renting if you're going to be going in a cab anywhere. There are, once we're done here, on Monday, there are different flights out. I think most people's leaving the evening of of the 15th, Monday. And so what we'll probably do is keep our luggage at the hotel here, do whatever we're going to be doing, and then pick our luggage back up and then take the shuttle back to the airport. Okay, so that's the trip briefing. Feel free to email me with any questions, and I'm sure there will be some additional updates that will come out with further details.